It seems today 3D is everywhere in movies, TV, and video games, but really it's not a new technology. Just doing quick web searches, I've been able to trace stereoscopic gaming back to Sega's 1982 arcade game, Sub-Rock 3D. With all the 3D games coming out these days, it's been reminding me of a stereoscopic classic Mac game that I've never got around to playing. Today we're going back to the good old Macintosh SE to check out a 3D stereoscopic game, Stella Obscura. This disc here isn't official. I've actually been creating custom disc images and labels for some of the games I enjoy or find myself going back to. These labels and disc images are available for free on my website, killgruz.com. First, I've got to say that I'm not a big fan of 3D. I'm not wild about most 3D effects, and I hate the way my eyeballs feel like they're going to drop out of my skull after I come back to the real world. Putting that aside, I'm going to ignore my personal gripes with 3D and talk honestly about this game. Stella Obscura was released in 1990 by John Calhoun, the same guy who brought us great games like Glypha and Pararena. Stella Obscura is the only Macintosh game that I know of that's stereoscopic 3D. This means that there's two slightly different images on the screen, and to play this game, you'll have to build a viewer so that both of your eyeballs see a different image. Now, the thought of building something just to play a game initially kind of turned me away from it. It sort of looked complicated, and I didn't really want to build something just to play a game. I finally took the time to read the instructions to build the viewer, and I found it to be incredibly simple, and it was kind of fun. Now, building the viewer is actually pretty easy. All you need is a saltine crackers box and a piece of cardboard to stick inside to separate your eyeballs. Then what you do is you cut the top of it so that it'll fit to your face. And what I did is I stapled some rubber bands to it so I didn't have to build a stand. Then the instructions tell you that you're supposed to black out the inside of it so that you get a better 3D effect, but you know, I'm a lazy guy, I can't be doing all that. I think it works pretty well without it. So now that we have our viewer built, we can finally get to checking out this game. Now, I'm not set up for shooting videos in 3D, so with the power of my video editor, I'm going to combine the two images into a super cool, top-of-the-line 2D image. I think the best way to describe the 3D effect in this game is to say it's incredibly similar to the 3D you get from the Virtual Boy. And instead of everything being red and black, it's white and black, which in my opinion is a tiny bit easier on your eyes. Now, don't get me wrong, when you finish playing this game, you still get that straining feeling in your eyes like with the Virtual Boy. As you can see, the gameplay in this game is incredibly simple. Pretty much all there is to it is moving the mouse around and clicking. I found the movement of your ship isn't very accurate, and killing the enemy ships is a pain because of it. In order to kill the enemies, they have to be in the same level of depth as your crosshair. And for them to be able to shoot you, they have to be closer than that, so that's a bit of relief. You only get one life in this game, but you do have 10 shields, which basically means you can take 10 hits before you die. However, you can collect more shields by flying through a Stargate at the end of some of the waves of enemies. As John said himself, this game was sort of an experiment for him, so I don't think he concentrated too heavily on making the gameplay great. I gave Stella Obscura 2.5 stars out of 5. I did like the 3D, and everyone who I showed it to thought it was really cool, but beyond that, there isn't really anything good about this game. The gameplay gets boring quickly, and if you miss shooting a ship flying by, you're almost guaranteed to get shot by it. There really isn't much room for error in this game, and I think that's a really bad thing considering how terrible the handling is. Well, this game's worth trying out if you're a fan of 3D games, especially vintage ones, but you probably shouldn't wear this thing around other people because you look pretty stupid wearing a cracker box strapped to your head.